Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our New York Islanders franchise mode here in NHL 25. So in last episode, we started up the season simulation for 2029-30, and so far we are actually still playing pretty well despite our roster being torn down completely in the offseason. And obviously we need to simulate a lot worse because we're 18, 19, and 4 at the moment, which is, I believe we're currently in a playoff spot, was it? Or just outside of the playoffs? Yeah, we're just outside of a playoff spot currently with 40 points. The last wildcard has 43, so we are doing kind of a lot better than expected, which is not great. So we definitely need to find a way to make this team simulate a little bit worse so that way we obviously miss the playoffs, because we are definitely trying to still rebuild this year. We do have an abundance of first-round picks, and every single one of those teams that we've traded for their firsts, they're actually in playoff spots as well. So that's kind of sucks a bit, but I think I would likely hold on to those first-round picks just because they're at least value that we can potentially use to move up when we actually get to the draft and that sort of thing. But yeah, we do need to find a way to make this team simulate a little bit worse. I'm not too sure exactly what I plan on doing, but there is a chance we might be moving on from Brock Nelson in this episode, which is unfortunate because we wanted him to retire with this club, but he's been simulating so good that his value's gone up so much probably, and also like he's in the last year of his deal, that type of thing. So we probably want to send him to a team that can maybe win the Stanley Cup this season. So yeah, trading him would probably make sense. 44 points in 41 games. If we didn't have him, we probably wouldn't simulate this good. And then basically, if we do move Brock, we'll probably get Riley Heidt to the top line, Poitras into the top 6. And maybe in that Nelson trade, if we get like a good pick, maybe we could just find like a new third-line center, or we could call somebody up from the AHL potentially, which doesn't seem to be really the best depth options down there. I mean, I could call up this Otto Jamson guy maybe, but he's not really a center either. So we'll definitely see what we could do to replace basically him when we do that. But yeah, I definitely think we need to get probably rid of him, unfortunately, which is not really what I wanted to do, like I said. But it will get rid of Brock Nelson from being our captain on this team as well, which means then could be the Anton Frandell era as our captain if we want to, which is going to be interesting because, like I said, I think he should be the next in line in captaincy maybe, or we could give it to Noah Dobson for a bit before Noah Dobson leaves the team. I don't know, because Dobson probably does deserve it too, but I do really like Anton Frandell. He's kind of the face of the future because he's only 22. Meanwhile, guys like Dobson are 30 years old, so maybe we just go right away to Frandell and Dobson stays in as an alternate. And I don't know who would be the other alternate on this team. Maybe give it to somebody that's a bit older that's not going to be here long, like Yanni Gourde, for instance. Because I don't think I really want to give it to anybody else on this team, because most of these other guys are kind of like players that could just leave this team in the next few years, unless Riley Heidt becomes that type of guy. But I think I probably would end up just giving it to Yanni Gourde for the rest of the season, just because he's going to retire at the end of the year likely. So maybe that's what we'll end up doing when we do that type of trade. But anyways, before we simulate the rest of the season, yes, we're going to simulate the rest of the season in this episode. Let's get into your guys' comments, see what you guys have to say about last episode, and then we'll make some tough decisions with Brock Nelson, and hopefully our team falls off a good chunk so that way we could get a good pick. So the first two comments are from Shankly Mania. The first one says, I agree with Taku, that means Saturn and Taku, to trade Brock to a realistic cup contender. I know it's a nice story to play a full career with only one team, but honestly, getting him a cup for him would be an even better ending to his career. He's doing too good when you're just trying to tank. I'd also make a move moving other of your goalies to the AHL and bringing Alexander up. Won't do any harm to get more ice time in the minors, and Isles need to lose now. Yep, that makes sense. I think we could probably send one of our goalies down, but the thing is, though, let's go to actually for roster moves for a second here. I think Khudobin actually would go through waivers. No, both of them don't actually go through waivers. That's kind of interesting. So we're still at the stage where they're both young enough that they don't go through waivers. So Solovyov has been pretty damn bad so far as a backup this season. So I kind of want to keep him up here, but I also don't want to send down Khudobin really, because obviously he's an 84 overall. I don't think he deserves to be in the AHL. So I probably, if I was to send somebody down, it would probably be Solovyov. And then we could have Solovyov and Medvedov back again, and Nikulin would end up getting scratched. But I don't know if having a Gage Alexander would make a huge difference in terms of us winning and losing games. Like, how good has he simulated in the NHL level out of curiosity when he's been up here? He lost his only game he played with us in overtime, apparently, because we did have to call him up due to injury at one point. But aside from that, he played one NHL game in 25-26, stopped 7 shots in 11 minutes. That's pretty solid. Never played a game again after that. So he's actually been pretty good at the NHL level. Huh. Yeah, I honestly don't know if he would make us assimilate that much worse. I honestly might just keep with this goaltending tandem, even though it does make us assimilate good, just because these younger goalies, they deserve to play in the NHL. Like, they're both actually listed as NHL goalies too, so I feel like I would be kind of doing a little bit of a disservice to send one of them down. So I think I'm going to probably just keep both of them up here, even though it makes us a bit stronger. We just need to find a way to get rid of somebody like Brock Nelson, and then that would probably help out with the depth scoring, and then our team will fall off a bit more. Shankly also says, if we could package 3 of the later first rounders plus something to trade for the franchise pick, I'd also go ahead with that. Those guys are available very rarely, and now you have the assets to get them, and you could probably swap Farndale to the right wing if necessary. Yeah, that could be a possibility, but I don't really know if I feel like 3 first-round picks is worth a franchise player. It depends, honestly. We could still end up winning the franchise player with our own pick, too, because we have fallen off a little bit as of late, and if we continue to fall off, that could be still that franchise player. So I honestly don't know about trading picks to basically guarantee us a franchise guy unless we're actually at the draft and we can move up and all that stuff. But I think for right now, we'll probably keep with our selections and hopefully hope that some of them drop off a little bit, like some of them fall out of the wild card positions that they're in, because there is still a good chunk of season left, so there is a chance that they could still fall out for sure. And I don't really think I would want to move Anton Farndale to the right wing because now that he's 22, he is getting closer probably to an age where he wouldn't want to learn any other positions. I think, as I would assume, at least it's for, and maybe he would still be willing to change positions, but I feel like he's done a good enough job on this left wing side of things that we probably want to just keep him on the left wing. Like, he's on pace for a career high year, even though this team is worse than it was last season. So, yeah, we'll probably keep him on the left wing, and then we could obviously have, like, Cook, who is our best right winger at the moment. And hopefully he continues to develop because he's had a really good rookie season so far. The next comment is from Michael Dose, who says, I hate to see it, but I would shop Brock Nelson now while he's high value because your team is winning with him scoring goals. You need to get him out of the lineup and lose more games. So another person saying, hey, we need to get rid of Brock Nelson, which I kind of agree with, even though it kind of sucks. He does have a modified no trade. That's another thing that I didn't mention. So he is only able to go to these type of teams, but that is still a lot of teams at least. So we do have a lot of flexibility with where we could deal him away to. The next comment is from Ryan the Sharky, who says, Tyrone Cook is a future legend. Mark my words. So he really likes Tyrone Cook's play. And I do as well. He's on pace to win Rookie of the Year this year. With 30 points in 41 games so far, so potentially a 60-point season ahead for him. Obviously, once we get rid of Brock Nelson, his points probably go down quite a bit, I would assume. But honestly, yeah, this guy has been pretty damn good so far in the NHL level, and he honestly might develop into being a pretty damn good top 6 forward with us. Like, he might not necessarily be a future top liner for the entirety of his career, but he could still be maybe a second line guy, maybe a third line guy. Definitely going to be somebody that helps us out with the offensive load throughout the depth. In the last and final comment is from Simon Taku, says, I doubt you'll be able to create a package of picks to get that franchise player, and I'll say you don't necessarily need him. Instead, target Mäkinen at 6th overall to develop as your first line center who could feed Cook the puck. The rest of the players you pinned look good, and hopefully there are some later round steals in the mix. While I did say that Nelson finished his career with the Isles, he's over-simulating again, so it might make sense to trade him to a contender. You could always bring him back in a fourth-line role if he decides not to retire. Regardless, finish the rest of the season sim in next episode so the series can move a bit quicker. And yeah, I think we definitely need to move the series a bit quicker. Obviously, we've been going to the Cup Finals quite early on in the series, so we haven't got through a lot of seasons. We're only going into 2030 basically at the moment, so we do still have a lot of seasons left of this. Obviously, I feel like I want to kind of run the series all the way till the end of the 25 years, but if honestly we don't run to the end of the 25 years, it's not the end of the world, but it would be interesting just to see these players' careers pan out and that type of thing. So I definitely want to keep on doing this at least until I'm done my 2010 roster build, so that way we could do a 2010 franchise mode. So yeah, just stuff with that, but I think we got to get into finding a way to trade away Brock Nelson, which is unfortunate. So if I go to find trade, will it actually give me any options here? So there isn't any leg here anymore, right? I don't think there's any more leg here on this screen is what I was told, I think, when I looked at the patch notes. So there shouldn't be any leg here. So this should actually pop up with Brock Nelson offers, right? Yes, it does. Okay, good. So we do have some offers. So Columbus would give us a top 6 forward by the name of Solani. We'll take a look at him in a little bit. Pittsburgh would give us Nedeljkovic in a 7th. We do not need Nedeljkovic. They'd also give us Lauzon straight up. And then there's Vegas, which would give us a 3rd rounder in Andrew Peeke, who signed for 2 years. I don't think we need Andrew Peeke, but the 3rd rounder is kind of nice. But who is this Solani guy that Columbus would be willing to give us? Because it's a prospect, which is kind of nice. Let's see. Kimmo Solani, 74 at 22 as a top 6 forward. Damn, yeah, this guy's not going to pan out. He's not going to pan out at this rate. 2 points in 5 games. Looks like he's been a scratch in the AHL. I don't know why they're scratching him because he had 43 points last year in the AHL. So he can't produce at the AHL level, but it seems like they're just not giving this guy much of a chance, which is unfortunate. So I can see why they would trade him to us. But yeah, I don't think I'm going to do that. I don't even know why Columbus would want him considering they're 15, 23, and 4. But I think we're going to look for some other deals for Brock Nelson other than the ones we just got offered. So Vegas was offering us a 3rd. Let's go to Vegas for a second here and see what else we could potentially get instead of whoever it was that they offered with him. Let's see. So 3rd round pick. It was their own 3rd rounder for this year. I don't know if I need a 3rd for this year. That's the one thing. Like, we have a lot of picks this year. So do I just go for a future pick instead? Like this 2031 3rd. Probably that's a better option in my opinion. So if we go to Brock Nelson here, how much value does he have? It's actually not as high value as I thought it would be. They'd be over 45 skaters, so that's why they'd give us another skater, which was Andrew Peeke in this deal. And it actually was this 3rd that they offered us, I guess. But, yeah, the value on Brock Nelson's not as high as I was anticipating. Like, you wouldn't be able to get, I don't think, a 1st rounder for him, which is unfortunate. Like, if we look at the value just on its own, like, what does a 1st round pick from Vegas look like compared to Brock Nelson at the moment? Like, if we go to, oh, yeah, it's definitely way too much value. Yeah. So we are going to be able to get a 1st round pick. We could definitely get a 3rd rounder, but we have to take back a roster player. So maybe we look for ourselves a center that replaces Brock Nelson basically in the lineup because we do need a replacement center still for Brock Nelson. So let's find somebody in their lineup that we could add to this deal and make it go through. Obviously, it has to be a low-end kind of center with low value and all that. So we don't want to simulate too good, so let's see. Sign somebody that's on 1 year left. Hurdle's dropped off a cliff. I mean, we could take on Thomas Hurdle for the rest of the year, but I think he's kind of a bit too good. This 78 overall guy has a lot of value. That would be kind of nice, to be honest. Is he in the AHL? He is. Colin Fitzgerald, 4th line guy. You know, if we brought in him instead of the 3rd round pick, that could maybe work for both teams. Let me take a look at the value on that. I feel like maybe Fitzgerald has a little bit more value than Brock Nelson. But if I retain maybe some salary, it could help them. They are actually doing really bad, though, this season, Vegas as well. So I don't know why Vegas wants to actually trade for him. Vegas has literally 13 wins. So I could see that they highly value this prospect a bit more. So I don't think it maybe makes sense for us to trade for that guy. But if we bring in like the 3rd round pick and somebody with a low value that's on 1 year left, I don't know why guys like Blake Coleman have a 2-year deal. It's kind of weird. Let's see. 76, 35 years old. Alex Wenberg. That would be just exactly what we kind of need. We could bring in Alex Wenberg in this trade, and we'll bring in that 3rd rounder. And that way we basically get just a body for a body. And then Wenberg could replace Brock Nelson in the bottom 6 or something like that. Like, I know Wenberg's not that great anymore at this point. He's 35 years old. Has been playing in the AHL the last few years. Actually, last season only. Last year he was a 4th line kind of option, it looks like. So, has he ever won a Stanley Cup out of curiosity, just for fun? No, he never has. Okay, well, I think this is probably what we'll end up doing here, because that way we get a body back for Brock Nelson. But I don't know about... Actually, we don't want to send him to the Vegas Golden Knights, though. I was just thinking, because the Vegas Golden Knights have been bad, though. We want to send Brock Nelson to a team that he has a chance to win the Stanley Cup with. We don't want him to retire on a bad team. So, is there any of his teams that he's interested in that have actually been good? Like, who's actually been really good this year? The Ducks. Okay, the Ducks is a team that Brock Nelson could go to. 28 wins this season. So, that definitely gives him a chance to maybe go for a Stanley Cup. But they do not want him. That's the thing. Okay, so I guess we will not trade Brock Nelson to Anaheim. Let me take a look at his list again of teams. We definitely need to trade him to a contender, though. I almost forgot about that, and I would have been mad if if he would not have made the playoffs. Boston, Calgary, Carolina. Okay, let's go to Boston next. Boston is 22, 14, and 4. Not bad. We do already have their first, so we don't really want them to do good, too. So we got to be worried about that, too. Calgary and Carolina, there's not really good numbers so far. Let's see what else there's. It's hard to remember the entire trade list for this guy. Blackhawks, Avs, Blue Jackets. Let's see. Blackhawks are doing good. We do have their pick as well, though. Avs and Blue Jackets. Let's see. Avs are doing really, really well. We do not have their pick. 36 and 8. Do they have any interest in him? They do. Okay, so Colorado's probably a good team to do. They would be over the salary cap, but we could retain salary, so we're going to do that. Be nice to the Avs. Give them a chance to go win a Stanley Cup again. And there we go. Now it should be... Let me just actually make sure it's like full 50% retained. I want them to be actually cap compliant, right? So... they're still over by a little bit, but we could easily take back some third line, fourth line center with value. So, let's see. Damn, their center depth is going to be insane if we trade him there. So, somebody with low value. So, we'll take Alex Barré-Boulet, maybe? Is that enough to make them more cap compliant? Not really, because it's a two-way contract. Is that a two-way contract? It must be, right? Because it didn't change anything with the cap situation. Barré-Boulet, yeah, two-way contract. We don't really want somebody on a two-way just because, obviously, we do... We want to help them out with the salary cap situation so Brock actually plays and doesn't get sent to the AHL, because that would be dumb. Hey, Oliver Wahlstrom's over there, too. That's actually kind of funny. Let's see. Luke Kunin, too much value. I don't want to have somebody that's that good, really, on our team. Kisakov could be honestly that bad, but he is on a two-way contract, so it won't make them cap compliant or fully cap compliant. I mean, they could send somebody down on waivers, and it's not really that big of an issue. So I'll bring in Kisakov. I think Kisakov would be an okay option. He can also play center. Doesn't have a ton of value, and then will they want to give up their picks? Probably. Yep. Okay. Let's take a third rounder for next year. And that should get it done. That should easily get it done. Since I'm retaining salary, I wonder if I could fetch a second. Probably not. Probably not, but you know what? It might be worth a try. Let's see. And I might be able to still work just because we're retaining salary and we're helping them out a bit. And they would be cap compliant with this trade. Yeah, I think we got to try this out. So, Kisakov in a second for Brock Nelson at 50% retained. He gets to go to a team that's 36 and 8. Maybe that team's going to be too good and they're going to lose in the first round, but I hope that obviously Brock gets a chance to win the cup. So, let's see if this works. And that's rejected. The value is just a bit low. So, we actually are pretty close in value. Pretty close in value. I'm trying to think if I want to get rid of any of my other picks here. Because I could move a pick up, so I could basically just move up a little bit in the draft. I don't know. I don't know if it's worth... maybe it would be worth it. Do I have anybody I could also throw into this deal? But I don't... They wouldn't be over the cap because... they might be over the cap because of that. I'm trying to think of what I could do here. We have an abundance of picks this year, so obviously it doesn't really matter too much about this year's draft in that sense. I could throw in maybe my... What if I throw in like the 7th round pick for 2031? Just a little tiny bit more value. I'm trying to think if that would work well for me. And then can I safety net this with like an extra 5th rounder? Let's see if that works. Rejected. Sweden the value just a touch. So I can't take that 5th rounder, which means I could take a 6th rounder probably. I could take a 6th rounder. So likely this is going to work. Nelson in a 7th for Kisakov, a 2nd in a 6th. So we turn a 7th into a 6th rounder. We get an extra 2nd round pick, which is nice. We get Kisakov for the year. And then Brock Nelson's on his way to a contender. So will this work? And value just a touch. So I guess we have to just do a swap with the 7th round picks. Let's see. Would this work? Okay, that's kind of weird that they didn't accept that. I thought they would. So we're going to do a 7th round pick swap, basically, and we get that 2nd rounder. Let's see about that. And that's accepted. All right. A little bit of an interesting trade, but Brock Nelson is on his way to Colorado. Hopefully he goes wins the Stanley Cup this season. Tough deal to make, but it had to happen. We are over-simulating. And we should have enough people in the NHL. It says we could call up somebody, but let me just make sure first we're set up the right way here. So we'll get, obviously, Riley Heidt onto this top line, because Riley Height's been pretty solid, I think, so far. And then we'll get Poitras onto the top 6. Bstad could stay maybe where he is. And then we could throw in Kisakov down the middle on that 3rd line spot. Power play, let me go to this unit here. Oh, he has power play line 2. Let's give Kisakov some power play time too. Honestly, I don't really care too much. There's not any other prospects that doesn't need the ice time. So we'll go to Kisakov again at the point on the power play. See if it works out. He's only 27 years old. It's not like he's super old. So, yeah, we'll go something like that. And Knack's currently injured at the moment, so we do need to put him back in a bit. Once he's back, I think he replaces Yanni Gourde, maybe? Or no, it was Maggio, I think. Yeah, Maggio. All right, so that's all good and ready to go. So Nelson's gone to Colorado. It does say now that they're over the salary cap. I'm kind of curious on where they're going to fit Brock Nelson into their lineup, but hopefully they use him in the NHL. Let's just make sure that he's in the NHL. Yeah, he's in the NHL. Okay. I'm kind of curious on where in the lineup they're going to fit him. They could use him as a left winger too, not just a center. So let's actually take a look at the Colorado's lines after that trade and see where they're slotting in our former captain. And obviously we'll address our captains and then we'll simulate more of the season after that. But that took a while to make that trade, but I think we got what we needed to get from that deal. So that's good. And it should make us worse. It should. Will it make us worse? No idea, but I think it should. So Colorado will be using Brock Nelson as a left winger. They'll be playing him on the top 6, which is great. So behind the big Middlestad, McKinnon, and Rantanen line, he's going to get to play with Nichushkin and Ross Colton. I like that. They could also put him at center and move Ross Colton over to the left side. So Frank Vatrano's over there too. I forgot that Frankie V's over there. Oh man, okay. So Frankie V, Ross Colton, and then we also saw Oliver Wahlstrom was there too. All those guys are on the Colorado Avalanche. That's actually pretty sick. Yeah, Wahlstrom's actually a depth option over there. So, who knows? Maybe Colorado wins the Stanley Cup with a bunch of our former guys. That'd be kind of neat. All right. So, that's all good to go. Let's go to the captain scene for now, because obviously, we got to name ourselves our other captain, which right now we just have the 2 alternates. So, Anton Frundell, you are going to become the new captain of the New York Islanders. Obviously, Noah Dobson could deserve it, but I honestly would rather give it to the guy that's the key piece of the future. So, Frundell, the captain, and we have the assistant captain as Noah Dobson. We do have one more assistant we could give out, and like I said, I think I'll just give it to Yanni Gourde for the rest of the season just because he's an old guy. Because at this point, I don't know who's going to become that next alternate captain. It could be Sal Malainen, could be somebody like Cook. But for right now, let's just give it to Yanni Gourde, and obviously we can make some off-season decisions with the captains going forward. But Anton Frundell, the newest captain of the team, Yanni Gourde's getting some morale because of being an alternate captain on his team. And let's hope that this team starts to fall off a little bit with that Brock Nelson trade. But definitely a tough move to make for our team because obviously he's been with us so long. But he has a chance to win a Stanley Cup with Frank Vatrano, which is sick, and also Oliver Wahlstrom. So the graveyard of old players of our team. So let's go to February the 1st and see how we are in these next few weeks. And hopefully this team starts to drop off a little bit. Hopefully we still get good production from our top young guys like Cook and all that. Ottavainen has been injured with an injured neck out till January the 23rd. So that's actually actually it's not super long-term of an injury. It's only like a week or so. But what does it mean by an injured neck? Like, did he strain his neck? Did he break his neck? Probably not breaking his neck if it's only that long-term. But maybe slept on it funny. Who knows? But we lose our first game without Brock. That's good to see. Anaheim, we somehow beat that good Anaheim team. I don't know how that's even possible, but this team needs to really fall off, please. I do not want to somehow make the playoffs with this roster. Because if we somehow make the playoffs, and every other team we made trades with makes the playoffs, that's just an abundance of late first-round picks. And this team shouldn't even be in a playoff scenario, too, because Our coach said at the beginning of the season, he's just like, yeah, you guys are definitely a long ways away. A lot of pieces away from making it to the playoffs or something like that. Ottavainen is back, so we'll get Ottavainen back in. It's fun saying Finnish last name sometimes. We do have a couple Finns, I guess, on this team. Ottavainen was in where Heimo Salmi was. I feel like we have a lot of Finns actually now for that matter. Ottavainen, Heimo Salmi, Hotnen is Finnish too, right? He should be. Yeah. And then we have Salmalainen, who is Finnish as well. So yeah, we do have a lot of Finnish representation on this team now, so kind of sick. Kind of sick. Obviously, we're not going to do a full Finnish draft to glory, but it's kind of funny. Kind of funny. And we lost a couple more games after that. That's good to see. Let's just keep on losing, boys, because we want to tank as much as possible. Pratt was injured in last episode. I was going to say I'm not too sure if he was injured, but I almost forgot that he got hurt near the end of last episode. It really sucks that he hasn't been developing. Like, he's a 74 overall now, so he is getting a little bit of growth, but it is taking him a lot longer to grow than I was anticipating. Still puts up really good offensive numbers. So it would be nice to get him into the NHL if he could develop, because obviously we could have him and Hotnen be our offensive defensemen for the team. So, oh man, we're still getting points in some of these losses. Like, a lot of extra frame games. 5 straight extra frame games, and then we win. So we're still 500. 21, 21, and 8. And then the wild card is on 52. We're on 50 points. We have played more games, so that's going to help us a little bit. But we are still simulating a bit too good for my liking. A bit too good. And I don't really know if it's the goaltending. Kudobin's on a 902, so it's not like anything crazy. Like, if we look at our team stats here again quickly for a little update. We're 22nd in goals for, 19th in goals against, 28th on the power play, dead last on the penalty kill. Yeah, we're still hovering around 500. I honestly don't know really how I can make this team much worse than it is. Like, there's not really anybody on this team I would trade. Frondell might be just making us over-simulate. Crane is growing. Maybe Poitras and Height are making us too good. Has Kisakov been really good since he's played with our team? 2 points in 9 games. Never mind, he hasn't been. So it's not because of him. I don't know what's making us simulate this well. Maybe it's having all these filler defenders like Leon Bichelle. Oh, wow. Leon Bichelle's been great defensively. Him and Ottavainen, both plus 16. So that top 6 pairing has been great defensively. Maybe that's a bit of a problem. Solovyov on an 888. Yeah, like, it's not like our goaltending's been insane in this season. I honestly don't know how we're going to make ourselves worse. I mean, is Naklis as a depth forward? He is, but he's actually had a pretty solid season. Maybe I scratch him. 19 points in 45 games. Maybe I scratch him and get somebody like Dufour in that spot. Or Maggio instead. How has Maggio and Dufour played this season? 1 assist in 5 games. And then we need to go down to Dufour. Nothing in 2 games. Let's put Dufour in that spot instead of Knack. I know Knack has been good, but we need to find a way to make this team fall off a bit more, right? Anybody else I could take at line? Philman's got 16 points. He's been actually not that bad either. I don't really know if there's a way to make this team worse, honestly. Because I could trade away Poitras or somebody like that. He actually has 30 points in 50 games, so he has been good. But I don't know about trading him away too. Riley Height's on 32 points. It's not like we're being that good, to be honest. We're just kind of lucky that we're 500 still around. I think we're going to fall off eventually, right? We got to at this point. Even if we just barely missed the playoffs, hopefully that pick somehow becomes a high-up pick. If it doesn't become a high-up pick, hopefully we could use our other picks to move up. But let's keep on simulating. I really do not know why this team has still 21 wins this season. We should be, I feel like, closer to like 12, 13 wins, but we're finding ways to get points in these games. Like, that last little streak was so weird. Because literally from this Pittsburgh game all the way to this Toronto game, every game went to the extra frame to overtime or shootout. And then we won that last game. So we're just still getting points when we don't really need to get points. So let's see if we could fall off here in February. If we don't fall off, maybe we need to make more moves. Maybe we do. But I'm not too sure on exactly what. So Prince has been injured. Let's just go replace player. Hopefully he's back relatively soon because that's one of the better prospects in Bridgeport. We do lose to the Rangers. Good stuff. As Prince is back. Hopefully he could help that AHL team out more. So that AHL team, hopefully they're actually simulating good too. Because I do want them to potentially make the playoffs if they have a chance. So, let's see what we got here. We had 3 games this week. Washington. Yanni Gourde's been injured with injured ribs. Okay, replace player. Washington is a win in the shootout. Goddamn, guys. Why do you win games? Wins over Columbus and over Pittsburgh. What is happening? Why is this team so good? If Tyrone Cook is making us simulate this good, that is not exactly what I was hoping for when I brought him in. Like, I did want him to have a great season, but I didn't want him to make us simulate way better than we anticipated. It must be the Anton Frundell effect at this point. Because Anton Frundell, yeah, he's actually been really damn good this season. Only 15 goals, but 41 assists. So he's on a 56-point season through 54 games. Yikes. And then height is not really doing as crazy on this top line as I was anticipating. Tyrone Cook. I think Tate Cook was a different guy that I've had before. Tyrone Cook's got 20 goals and 38 points this season. So, I think it's just that top line that's really carrying things. Noah Dobson isn't really making us over-simulate either. He's only got 27 points. So, I just think Anton Frundell, the captain, just does not want to lose a lot of games or something this season. It's really strange. Huh. Well, I honestly don't know how I can make this team worse. Maybe the best thing I could do is trade one of these centers, but I'm just going to keep it going for now. I am very confused, though, with this team. Very confused. We do need to get the rest of the season simulated regardless, so hopefully we fall off a cliff here soon. Maybe it would be in March that we fall off, but we're getting points even, like, losing in overtime and all that. Like, this team should not be this good. Maybe we should actually change coaches. That might be a thing. Shootout loss. 9-1 loss there. That's at least a nice loss there. And another shootout loss. See, we're still getting points in games we lose, too. It's very strange. 26, 23, and 11. We're 3rd place in the division. Okay, maybe I need to change the coach. Honestly, that might be the best play just to hurt our chemistry a bit. Because this current coach, I think, is maybe doing us too well. He was our coach last season, too, but he didn't think this team was good enough to make the playoffs. We are on a 66% team fit, so maybe that's why. But I feel like we want to get that benefit from our team still. Man, I don't really know if I want to change coaches. It would probably get us to fall off a little bit more so. Do I trust that our team is going to fall off or not? You know what? I think I feel like our team still should fall off. If it doesn't fall off, though, in this next month, I will be utterly shocked. But something is still working well enough for this team. Like, we're still 22nd in goals for, 19th in goals against, 28th on the power play, and dead last on the penalty kill. But we're still in the playoff spot. And Frundell's on 59 points. And we've played as a team 60 games. So he's still right around point per game, even though this team's very low quality. So, I don't think I want to change the coach. I don't want to sacrifice how good like Cook and stuff have been playing so far. So I think we just got to keep on simulating and hope that this team falls off. So we'll take a look at what trades happened at the deadline this year as well. But yeah, I don't really know what to make of this team at all. I really liked how at least the young guys are playing good, but at the same time, I was not expecting to have these type of games where we lose in the shootout and all that. All right, so those are 2 straight losses in regulation, so maybe we're going to start to fall off here in March. I could definitely see that happening. Oh, boy, that's an injury I did not want to see. Ole Hattinen, so the offensive defenseman, has been injured with an MCL sprain. He'll be out till April the 6th, so his season's almost done because of that MCL sprain, but that's very unfortunate because obviously he's one of those guys we need to develop. Let's just go replace player on that, but that definitely should help us fall off maybe a little bit, which is good. So 3 straight regulation losses. Yeah, I think this is definitely the month where we're going to start to fall off, and then our team at least should get a good pick because of that. All right, so in terms of trade deadline deals, what happened in 2030? Any crazy trades between teams that we were not expecting to see this year? Let's see. So, any interesting names that I recognize? Chaz Lucius on his way to LA with Jordan Greenway. Bemstrom off his way to Boston. So Boston's loading up a little bit. Ottawa's acquired a 3rd. Neil Pionk and Colin Miller from Winnipeg are some prospects. Jesper Wallsted's on his way to Ottawa. Interesting for Minnesota. For Ryan Lindgren in a second. Detroit acquires Alex Texier from St. Louis. Ville Heinola on his way to Toronto with Carson Lambos for some picks. Ty Dellandrea back to Dallas with, I think that's Linus or something, Carlson. And Vladislav Nemesnikov. Riley Kidney on his way to Dallas. Martin Feravari on his way to Seattle. I feel like Feravari gets dealt every single year. Just kind of weird. Anybody else? Evgeny Malkin goes to the LA Kings from the Pittsburgh Penguins with Nedeljkovic and Brad Marchand. Wow. So LA loading up. It's kind of weird seeing, though, Malkin going out of Pittsburgh. So on his way to LA to enjoy the celebrity life, I guess. Any other trades? Jake McCabe's on his way to Tampa, looks like, with Dylan Holloway. Nick Hague to Columbus with Jeff Skinner. Jacob Peltier to San Jose. Caden Gooley to the Rangers. And that's pretty much it. So I wouldn't say any super crazy trades other than that Malkin one, maybe. That's kind of interesting. Oh, yeah, that's kind of weird. It says now on the bottom, since our last game was against Pittsburgh, it mentions about Evgeny Malkin, even though he's now gone from that Pittsburgh Penguins team. Interesting. Okay, well, let's continue to simulate. See if this team falls off. We should be falling off here and missing the playoffs because I think this is the month we're going to fall off for sure. But it's been a really weird season still. We definitely simulated better than anticipated. But let's keep on rolling. And let's lose a bunch more games here, boys. Come on. Give me those L's. As Dufour has been injured with a sore shoulder, let's just go replace the player. I don't even care if it puts a forward on our offensive core. We just need to lose games. There's a couple more losses. Toronto, we somehow beat them in a shootout. Kind of surprised on that. Columbus, we lost in overtime. Don't get even those extra frame points, boys. We need all those losses if possible in regulation. Another extra frame loss. Let's just keep Dufour out. It doesn't really matter at this stage. But yeah, we have a lot of extra frame points. We have 13 extra frame losses. So that is kind of a bit weird. We are falling off on the standings a lot, though, this month, which is great. And this will definitely help us even more so. But it does suck because Nikita Khudobin's season is done. He also gets an MCL sprain out till June the 3rd. So that means Solovyov will get a chance to be the starting goaltender for the rest of the season. And Gage Alexander, I guess, will come up from the AHL. So yeah, that's unfortunate for Khudobin. Because he's been okay this season, it seems like, for the most part. So we'll get Solovyov as the starter. I wonder how Solovyov's numbers are looking now. We'll definitely take a look at the end of the season. We still got a lot of stuff to do because we still got to simulate up till the draft and all that stuff. So hopefully this episode's not too long. There's another loss. So we're down to 29, 33, and 13. And I think we probably have clinched not making the playoffs. Actually, no, we could still make the playoffs. We're only 2 points back, technically. That's kind of scary. That's kind of scary. The Caps are in that last wildcard spot at the moment. The Devils ran away with this division, so they have made the playoffs. We have their first-round pick. So that, unfortunately, is a wrap on that selection. The Canucks have also made the playoffs. We have their pick, so that's 2 teams. Anybody else? The Blackhawks have made the playoffs. We have their pick, so that's 3 teams. The Bruins have not clinched yet, but they're probably very, very close to it. Yeah. Because nobody in our division is really going to catch up to them at this point. So I think pretty much all the first-round picks that we brought in are going to be late first-rounders, which kind of sucks, but hopefully a lot of those teams get eliminated in the first round, because that would help us a bit. All right, let's get through these last few games here. But, yeah, we could still make the playoffs, but I'm really hoping that this team doesn't find a way to make it back. Because if we somehow make the playoffs with this type of record, we definitely will find a way to somehow win the Stanley Cup with this team. Houghton's up to 83 now. Wow, okay, that's exciting. I'm curious on his numbers. Obviously, he missed a good chunk just now because that was his MCL sprain, but kind of curious on his stats as an offensive defenseman. We're still losing games in the extra frame. That's not what we want to see, guys. We've literally lost so much games in the extra frame. 15 games. I'll just go continue on that for the time being because it doesn't really matter too much. Ottawa's a regulation loss. Toronto is a regulation loss. Okay, now we're definitely not making the playoffs at that stage. We do beat the best team in the Devils 6-2, so shout out to Matt Barzal, who just got destroyed by his old team. We beat the Canucks as well, and we lose to the Flyers. So We finished with 77 points. The last wildcard ended up finishing with 88, so we actually were quite far off afterwards, which is good. We finished 31, 36, and 15. Very weird season for this team. We lost to the worst team in our division, but we beat the best team at the end of the season. That's very strange. Like, we lost to a team with only 18 wins in the Flyers. So the Flyers might be getting that franchise guy. Which is kind of scary. All right. Well, let's take a look at our team stats here below my head because it'll probably show us that. Yes. Actually, maybe it's not. No, it's not going to. So I have to actually go to the standings and take a look at that and see where we ranked in terms of stuff. But we know that we weren't really good at everything, but we had some pretty good individual numbers, I guess. And that's what made the difference. So Colorado winning the President's Trophy, which means obviously Brock Nelson probably out in the first round of the playoffs, or maybe wins the Stanley Cup this year, likely. For us, though, we finished as the 22nd best team. So there is a lot of teams that have a higher chance to win the draft lottery than us, which is kind of scary, but hopefully we move up a couple spots. If we don't, we have late picks that we can use to move up to grab at least like that guy that Sandro Taku was mentioning at 6th overall. So there is still a chance that we could get ourselves a nice elite player. Goals for per game, we were near the bottom in goals for per game, 2.96 goals for per game. We allowed 3.5, which is kind of closer up to the top as well. Not as bad as teams like Philadelphia, but our goals against was definitely probably one of the strengths in a way. Power play percentage, we are near the bottom on the power play, so that means a lot of sense because of our offense. And then our penalty kill was dead last, but we weren't dead last in defensive play. So 71.9%, we were 4% worse than the next worst team on the PK, which was the Rangers, and they made the playoffs. It's kind of strange. 7 shorthanded goals despite being the worst penalty kill team in the league. That's not bad. 15, 18, and 8 on home ice, and 16, 18, and 7 on the road. Interesting. 3, 5, and 2 in our last 10 games. All right. So now let's take a look at some player stats, and look at that. Anton Frundell was still point per game on this team. Obviously, that could have been what made our team similarly good, but we were literally not scoring a lot of goals this season. But Anton Frundell was still picking up the pace, basically. So great to see him have a good year. And oh man, some other crazy numbers that I wasn't expecting. Matt Poitras, 62 points in 82 games. So he was really good as that second line guy. He is a pending free agent. Wish I would have seen that he was similarly that good, because he could have been probably good trade value. But I think he's a pending RFA maybe this offseason. If he's not, then we might not be able to trade away his rights. But regardless, Poitras, great season. Riley Heidt on 48 points. That's not too bad, but a minus 24. So a tough time defensively for Riley Heidt, but he was not too bad. I probably would hold on to him a few more years for sure, at least. Beasted on 23 points, 15 goals. That's pretty good for a fourth line guy. And Yanni Gordon, potentially his last NHL season, had 23 points. It's all right. Left wing side of things, Frundell we saw was point per game, 23 goals and 82 points. Look behind him too. Kevin Crane, I want to keep on saying Kyle Crane because of the damn dying leg game. But 53 points for Kevin Crane and 33 goals. So the future is very bright with these guys. Frundell obviously has been great for the last number of years. This was his best season despite it being on a team that's fallen off a lot. Obviously his plus minus not as good, but Frundell's still developing in the right way. And then to see Kevin Crane do this at 19 years old, he might be a Calder favorite potentially. Like maybe he jumped Tyrone Cook. 53 points and 33 goals. Preseason didn't even have a single goal. But yeah, very good year for him. Up to an 82. So he is developing in the right way. Really like to see that. 53 points. If he does that even his entire career, just a 50-point guy, that's very good for our depth scoring. Philman on 26 points. Kisakov, how much with us? 17 points in 41 games. So he actually did better than I was anticipating. Because he got off to a bit of a slow start, but that's not bad. I don't think he's going to come back, but you never know. Tyler Boucher on 14 points, all right. Right wing side of things, there's Tyrone Cook, another guy up there for Rookie of the Year. 35 goals in his rookie season, 23 assists, 58 points. So him and Crane up there for Rookie of the Year. Does Crane win it because of the plus minus? Crane was a +4. Meanwhile, Tyrone Cook was a -6. But regardless, 2 30-goal rookie seasons in our lineup. That's really nice. That's really really positive to take away. So I could definitely see why we won some games now because of that. Demek on 32 points, Knack on 25, Maggio on 11 and 33. That's pretty good. Dufour on 3 in 16. Defensively, Dobson on 44. So Dobson still had a pretty good offensive year. Is he losing morale because we missed the playoffs? A little bit. But he's still liking his ice time here. But he might be still somebody we need to trade away at some point. But he does have that full no movement clause. But it would be nice to have him here at least until we could finally take over that spot. But shout out to Olli Huttunen, another good rookie. He's 20 years old, 30 points in 69 games. Obviously, he missed some time due to his injury, but he's up to an 83 overall, listed as a top 4. His offensive awareness is up to an 87. So once that gets 90 plus, this guy might be a guy that could be up there for a Norris Trophy. We also had Sal Malainen on 20 points in his rookie season as an 18-year-old. So both rookie defensemen with over 10 goals as well. So there is a ton of positives to take away from the season already with the youngsters. And then these guys don't matter too much because most of them are going to leave. But Leon Bichelle and Ville Ottavainen, very good defensive pairing. +13 somehow on this team. They probably don't get a lot of ice time though. And then the goaltender, Skudobin, had a 900 save percentage. Obviously got injured near the end of the season. Not as strong as last year when he was the backup, but obviously not as good as the team. Did almost still have a winning record, which is not bad. So very excited to see what he could do still next season. He is losing morale because of his injury and missing the playoffs, but that's okay. And we have Solovyov on an 890. So yeah, a little bit of a tough time for Solovyov in his first season in the NHL. But his first AHL season was pretty much identical in save percentage. So maybe next year he'll start to find himself a little bit more. And Gage Alexander was pretty trash when he was up here. So there is our stats. Let's go to stats around the league. Let's actually take a look at how Brock Nelson did with the Avs first, though. So Brock Nelson finished over point per game on the Colorado Avalanche. It looks like 40 points in 38 games after we traded him away. Very good season for Brock. 22 goals. Yeah, he's definitely going to be on a good team in the playoffs, and hopefully he wins that Stanley Cup. If he doesn't win that cup, hopefully he doesn't retire. We can bring him back as a fourth-line option or something like that, just to fill out a roster or something like that. But good luck to him in his playoff run this season. Let's take a look at the entire league for player stats. Nathan MacKinnon led with 144 points, and somehow Trevor Zegras is actually good in this, 140 points this season. Connor McDavid, 126. Looks like he's dropping a bit. All right. A lot of points, though, this season. Casey Middlestad even had 122. So that top line in Colorado did a lot of damage because Rantanen's on 118 as well. So, damn. Most goals this season was McKinnon on 81 goals in 82 games. Jesus. Kind of crazy when the offense is this high in the league. 55 power play points as well from Nathan MacKinnon. 32 power play goals. God damn. That's crazy. Let's see. Defenseman for points. Cale Makar, not a surprise, 106. Adam Fox also hit 100. All right. Evan Bouchard on 87. Quinn Hughes on 87. All right. Best goaltender for wins. Samuel Urson in Colorado. 50 wins on the year. Most shutouts. Samuel Urson and Philip Gustafson with 7 apiece. Best save percentage by a starter is going to be Demko with a 921. And best goals against average by a starter is also going to be Demko. So likely Demko is going to win the Vezina. Interesting. Wow. And look at the stats from Justus Annunen as the backup in Colorado. 13-1-3. Jeez. Yeah, Colorado's an insane team. I feel like they're going to get knocked out in the first round, which is not good for Brock, but I feel like they are. Let's see. Any crazy assist numbers? 4 for Maskarov. All right, Rookie of the Year. Let's see. Guerin led in point. Oh, man. Jason Guerin had a good second half. So, unfortunately, we are not going to have a Rookie of the Year. Tyrone Cook had a great second half still. Same with Kevin Crane. But Guerin, who was the franchise guy that went first overall last year for the New York Rangers, had a way better second half. 60 points and a +18. So, unfortunately, he was not even up there before. It was like Foy that was up there. Guerin has taken over, and unfortunately, we're not going to have a Calder winner. But these two guys definitely could have won Calders in any other season for sure. But Guerin must have had a great second half of the season. Like, if we go to split stats here, let's see. So, October, 5 points in 8 games. Then he had 8 points in 14 games, 8 points, 13 games. And then after January, it's 10 points, 14 games, 9 points, 10 games, 13 and 14, and 7 and 9. So that was able to get him that Calder. Damn. Last 10 games, 8 points. Was a better road player than a home player by a long shot, too. Interesting. Yeah, so unfortunately, no hardware for our team probably this season. But, I mean, some guys came pretty damn close, I would say. Like the 35 goals and the 33 goals from those two youngsters on our team. Very impressed with that. Alright, I actually want to take a look at the AHL briefly too for our team. I know this episode's going to be a little bit long, but it is what it is. So if we go down to Bridgeport, let's see. So Jamson doesn't matter, but what about Olin? 45 points, not bad for a free agent signing. Lindros had 30 goals, not bad for a free agent signing. Pratt had 42 points. Has missed like 4 games up to this point because of injury. Still another good year for him offensively. I don't think we really have any other crazy prospects other than Prince with 32 points, 18 goals. Alright. What about the goaltender down there? Medvedov in 897. I don't know if he's going to pan out. 68 at 22, maybe he makes it, but he's definitely slow. And Nikulin up to a 65 at 21. Alright. Alright, so there is the player stats. Now we need to simulate and find out who wins the Stanley Cup and all that and wrap up the season. Because obviously next episode we want to get to the draft already and all that type of thing. So who is going to win the Stanley Cup in 2030? And is it going to involve a former player on that team? Because there is a lot of teams we traded with, and I'm pretty sure all of them made the playoffs. So who knows, maybe one of our former players are going to be a Stanley Cup champion at the end of the season. There is a chance that it could be. Like Oliver Bjorkstrand could win a cup this year, potentially. Curious on how the other guys did on the rosters like Bjorkstrand and all that, but it doesn't matter too much to me. Obviously, Brock Nelson mattered the most, so that's why I took only a look at him. Alright, so our AHL team, I guess, did make the playoffs, but they must have been eliminated. Or actually, maybe they didn't even make the playoffs because it says this season complete. Oh, they did make the playoffs. Okay, I just saw that notification. So they did make the playoffs, but they were out pretty early on, it looks like. Alright, who is going to win the Stanley Cup? Kudobin is back. Let's just go to roster moves and then just send down Gage Alexander. Not that it matters at this point because we're way into the end of the season. Who's going to win the Cup this season? Let's continue. It will be the Colorado Avalanche. Let's go. We got Brock a cup. Mission accomplished. So Colorado won the President's Trophy, and they were good enough to also win the Stanley Cup. We got Brock, we got Frank Vetrano, and Oliver Wahlstrom Stanley Cup wins. I mean, Frank Vetrano and that, we didn't trade them to there, but we did get our former players some Stanley Cups, and that is really, really great to see, because if Brock retires this season now, he'll go out like Ray Bourque, basically, in Colorado, so to speak. So, let's head on over to the awards now and see how Brock did for them in that playoff run. That is really awesome. I was hoping it would be the case. They beat the New York Rangers in the Cup Finals. So we got to take a look at both those Cup-winning teams here. Our Cup finalists, I should say. Nelson had 15 points in those 19 games, and he is now a Stanley Cup champion. Yes, let's go, Brock. Look at that. That's so great. That's so great to see. First time I think I've made a trade that's actually worked out with a player winning a Stanley Cup. So Brock, a Stanley Cup champion. And also, Frank Vetrano, only 5 points in that run for them. He's dropped off a cliff, apparently. So he might be retiring as a Stanley Cup champion as well. Let's friggin' go. Frankie V. And then, what is it? Wahlstrom didn't play a single playoff game, which means maybe he didn't get his name on the Stanley Cup, but I think he probably played enough regular season games. There's their defensive core that won the Stanley Cup, and their goaltending, Sam Ersson. So shout out to Colorado, and we know that they'd probably beat the Rangers based on the player stats. Yes, they did. Who was on this team? Oh my goodness, that guy that was is going to be winning Rookie of the Year. 18 goals in the playoffs. That's insane. So that franchise guy is going to be really, really damn good for the Rangers, which is going to make for an interesting rivalry with our Islanders in this series. Is there any other former players on the Rangers? Or any former players, I should say, on the Rangers? Anybody that I remember at least? Nah, it doesn't seem like it. Michael Misa was already on that team as well, so Michael Misa went to the finals already as well. Damn, yeah, the Rangers are interesting because I didn't think they would go that far, but they did go far this year. Defenseman, let me take a look at this. Goaltender, Soderblom. Interesting. All right. So that was probably the Cup Finals this season. Colorado Stanley Cup, Colorado President's Trophy for back-to-back seasons, and yeah, Colorado, New York Stanley Cup Finals. Art Ross Trophy going to Nathan MacKinnon. He also wins the Stanley Cup this season. Zegras wins the Hart. That's interesting. Cale Makar the Norris and a cup. Connor Bedard the Lady Byng. There's Guerin winning the Calder as I expected. That guy was really good this season. Like, great second half and a fantastic playoffs, and almost got the Rangers a Stanley Cup win. So I don't blame them for giving it to him, but it does suck that obviously that Tyrone Cook and also that Kevin Crane, goddamn, I keep on saying Kyle Crane. Kevin Crane didn't win the Calder because both those guys very good rookie years. Nathan MacKinnon the Conn Smythe, Demko the Vezina, Joseph Waldo Jennings, interesting in Anaheim, Mattinen the Masterton, just called it the Bill Mattinen Memorial Trophy instead, wins it for San Jose. Utah wins a Jack Adams. Or not Utah wins a Jack Adams. Utah's coach wins a Jack Adams. Scheifele to Selke. Zegras to Lindsay. And McKinnon the Richard. AHL awards. Anybody interesting down here? Does not seem like it, unfortunately. Okay. Well, that's fine. Now, the question is the draft lottery, the retirements, all that stuff. And let's wrap up the rest of 2030. And then obviously next episode will be the offseason and that stuff, but we got to still wrap up a little bit more. So this episode might honestly be over an hour long, but it is what it is. Okay, so draft lottery, we are staying at number 11 with our own selection. And none of the picks that we had were actually, none of the picks we actually had won the Stanley Cup this year. So we do have higher up first round picks, but we could probably still move up to get to at least number 6. Where that one guy was potentially supposed to go. So we probably could still move up, but Vegas is going to get that franchise player despite Philadelphia having a really rough season. Vegas jumps from 4-1. That sounds like they must have been playing a lot of slot machines, a lot of luck there for them. All right, retirements. Did Brock retire as a Stanley Cup champion in Colorado? Let's see. I don't know so far because there's a lot of big name retirements, Malkin, Tavares, that type of thing. But I want to know about Brock Nelson. Let's just go forwards for a second here and make it a little bit easier. I don't think he did. Did he retire as a Stanley Cup champion? Oh, Frank Vatrano did. Okay, so shout out to Frankie V retiring as a Stanley Cup champion. Salute to him in his time with us. But yeah, it looks like Brock Nelson did not retire, which is kind of a surprise. We could still bring him back in free agency maybe. JG Pajot also retires with the Detroit Red Wings, so a couple former guys that were with us early on in the series. Casey Zizekas retires as a free agent. I know a lot of these guys that were with us these last few years would retire soon enough, and a lot of them have, I guess. Curious on the defensive side of things. If we go to defensemen, Erik Karlsson retired. Any former Islanders? Let's see, don't think so far. Mike Riley. I mean, he was kind of like a depth option pretty much at best. All right. Nobody too important there. And goalies. Marc-Andre Fleury has retired. Semyon Varlamov has retired. So shout out to Varlamov in his time here. He did well as a backup. And yeah, we had to eventually let him go because of the youngsters, but he has retired. All right. So a pretty good retirement group. Only one former player on our team has retired, and that was Frankie V in Colorado. So I'm really surprised that Brock Nelson's still kicking around, but he will be a free agent again this offseason unless Colorado has the money to re-sign him, which they might. All right, so in terms of coach retirements, we did lose Willie Lowry. I don't know who that is. Maybe a goalie coach, but we did lose him. We did not lose anybody in Bridgeport. Continue simulating. Okay, and let's see what we got for progress reports, what the draft class is looking like, and the contract situation. So first and foremost, the contract situation. Who is up for renewal this offseason? Obviously, we're going to have a lot of cap space. Riley Heidt is the big one. He jumped up to an 85 after that season. I don't know if that's statistical or not. We'll take a look at that in a second. How much is he trying to get? He is an RFA. Wants only 3.5. Definitely, I think he should come back, but he might make us over-simulate too. So we could maybe trade his rights, but honestly, we could hold on to him too. Matt Poitras was great this season, up to an 84 probably statistically because he had 60 points. Or 62 points, I should say. Those guys are both RFAs. Do they come back? Leon Bichelle, great defensively. He could also come back, but I honestly should just maybe make us worse again next season. I don't know. But all these guys are RFAs. Then you have Kisakov, who's a UFA. He probably doesn't need to come back. Beasted's an RFA. He was actually pretty solid, I'd say. Like, pretty much a lot of the guys that we picked up last offseason are RFAs. Some of them are UFAs, but a good chunk are RFAs. So, I don't really know who I'll bring back out of a bunch of these guys, but there's that. Goaltending, we do have to give our big boy contract to Khudobin. Now, this is an interesting one because Solovyov has higher potential and might become that next starting goaltender. How long do we commit to Nikita Khudobin as part of this rebuild? He's only played 2 years in the NHL so far. Last year, he was great as a backup. This season, he didn't do that great as a starter, but the team wasn't great in front of him. What is he trying to get? Out of curiosity. He only wants a 1-year deal. That might be okay with me, but obviously at some stage if he wants like an 8-year deal, do we commit to him 8 years, even though we have Solovyov, who might take over that starting job next season, because he's an 82 overall. He could jump up and pass Khudobin. So we do have to make a decision with that. And one of these guys probably will have to leave the team eventually, just because we'll probably have to just find a normal backup as a backup for one of them. That's my guess. Any unsigned guys that need contracts going into next season? Pegger's up to a 71. Okay, that's cool. Wallace is up to a 70. So we do have a couple good growth, actually. Ericsson's up to a 69 as well. So there is a lot of guys that are starting to get good growth from our prospects. So that is very positive as well. All right. So speaking of player growth, let's go to the progress reports now. See what we're getting in terms of growth and drop-off. So Tyrone Cook is up to 84. Listed as a third-line scoring forward. And he's on mostly statistical, but he is getting a lot of natural growth too. So Tyrone Cook is looking solid. He's probably not that high of an overall. He might be like an 82, 83. Gord doesn't matter too much. Oli Hutton is getting a bunch of natural growth. No statistical whatsoever. And his offensive awareness is up to an 87, as we mentioned. So if this gets 90 plus, this guy's going to be a really good player to help us out with the offense on that power play. And then we saw about Kevin Crane, up to an 84 overall, a mix of statistical and natural, more on the statistical side of things, so he actually could be a lot lower than that. Frondell, let's see about him, some statistical growth, that's okay. Riley Height's probably fully statistical, my guess. Yeah. So some of these guys is a bit worrisome with just the statistical growth. Khudobin might be on natural growth here. Yes, he is. Okay, that's good. Solovyov probably on natural growth too. Yeah. Okay, that's good to see. And Samuel didn't get any growth after a solid rookie season with 10 goals. Interesting. Got some growth to his poise, but nothing else. That's okay. We don't need him to grow super crazy. In the system, though, we did see about Eriksson getting a lot of growth. He's obviously an all-natural growth. Pecker's getting a ton of growth. These guys both, I think, get their ELCs next season. And will be both in the AHL, which is exciting. Kaminsky up to a 75 as the top 9. It's not really that bad, to be honest. That's not bad at all. Any other crazy prospects? Prince up to a 59. We do have multiple Princes on the team. One of them will become king. Wallace 70 at 19. We saw about that. Okay, well, it looks like we're getting some good growth from most of these guys. So that is positive as well. All right. Final thing, the draft class. So first and foremost, what picks do we have again this year? So we do have a lot of picks this year. This draft better be good. We have 11, 24, 25, 27, and 29. So we could always move these 4 picks and 11th to move up probably a lot. But We could also maybe move like the rights to like Riley Heights or something like that, or Matt Poitras with the 11th pick to move up more so. I honestly don't know what we want to do with that, but we have an abundance of second rounders as well. So let me actually quickly take a pause and let me write down exactly all the picks we have in the first 2 rounds, and then we'll look at each position to see if we could find good steals in those spots, because maybe we get ourselves some good steals in this draft as well. Alright, so I wrote down all the picks we have, so let's go to the draft class now and see what we could get at these positions right now as is. So we could still try and move up, obviously, so this is what the top of this draft order is looking like. Makinen is the guy that was mentioned by Sanaritaku to potentially set up Tyrone Cook for some goals. He does look good. He's supposed to go 6th overall. We have 11th. Is there a good compensation at number 11, or should we try and maybe move up in next episode? Ole Malmavara looks pretty good 1 year out. No guarantees he's an elite. He could be just a top 6 forward. So this would be around our first pick, basically. Is all these type of guys. Vitaly Voinov, probably just a top 6. Is that Peter Forsberg? Par Forsberg, damn. I was hoping that would be Peter. Murray Hamilton. Looks like a top 6 forward. Alright, so around this point, around down here, there's not much. And then in terms of our next pick, it would be 24th. We did pin Joseph Boyd, who looks pretty good in NHL ready. So Joseph Boyd could still be a great selection at 24th if we hold on to the 24th pick. We also do have 25, which at that stage, it's kind of looking a bit rough, but there is some medium forward gems. There is that Jonathan Sierra guy we pinned, who is apparently NHL ready. So we could definitely take some of those guys that we were looking at that are NHL ready if we hold on to those selections. Giordano, I don't know if that guy's a low lead still or not. Waugh, don't know if he's an elite. We could definitely still use like maybe 2 of our late round picks to try and move up, because we have 24, 25, 27, 29. That's a lot of close picks. We can end up using 2 of those selections if we want to move up with our 11th pick. And then our other 2 picks, we could take those other guys that we pinned. That might be the play. Like, keep 24 and 25, but trade 27 and 29 with 11 to move up to 6, if it's doable. That way we could still draft Boyd, and we could draft still Sierra. That might be what we want to end up doing. Is there any good steals in this draft, though, out of curiosity? We also do have multiple second rounders. Is there any guys that are supposed to go in the second round that are intriguing as well? Let's see here. A medium top 6 forward there. Bobolev. Alright. Medium 4 there in Lorenzo Ronning, who's a gem. Interesting. Okay. So it looks like there is some options in the second round as well, but I don't know if this is a great draft class. We could still trade some of our picks for future year draft class picks if we want to, but it's a bit of a risk. But in terms of potential, any steals in this draft that we could potentially steal, like medium elites or low elites. Ole Malmavara is looking pretty good, as we said, but I don't know if he would be a good pick. He could be just a top 6 forward, so I'm kind of worried about that. But it doesn't look like there's any medium elites that are guaranteed, unfortunately. And no low elites guaranteed, but there is Pascal Durocher, who looks okay. But I'm not too sure if he's that good. There's also Rollins. Benjamin Rollins. Okay. Yeah, I feel like this draft class is not the best. I do think we could get some good steals with Boyd and all that. But I don't know about anybody else. So I might be okay with moving 2 of those late first round picks, like I said, 27, 29, with 11 to try and get up to number 6 or so. We probably could move some rights to some players since there's RFAs. And then we could still probably get those 2 other guys that I pinned that are almost NHL ready, basically. So that might be what we play towards. And then we could potentially trade some of our second rounders for future seconds, just because this draft class honestly doesn't look the best on paper. Or we could hold on to them if we want to as well. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of New York Islanders Franchise Mode. So in next episode, we will take it to the 2030 draft and re-sign stage, as we look to obviously basically still make our team worse a bit, but obviously getting some youngsters into the lineup if we can, even if it's in the AHL or in the NHL, And hopefully this team continues to develop in the right way. I've been really impressed with the youngsters so far, especially in Cook, with Crane. Obviously, Frondell's still been doing good. So the future is definitely bright. Let's just continue to add some good prospects in the next episode, and hopefully we can get this team out of the garbage state that it's in right now into being a contender again within like 5 to 6, maybe 8 seasons or so at most. But I don't think it's going to take as long as anticipated. Sizing down below, and I'll see you guys next time.